Welcome to Diligent Canine, and in this video I'm going to talk about the recall, or getting your dog to come when called. And you see I've got a long line here, which I talked about in the equipment video, is just a 30-foot or so piece of cordelette, or thin rope, or webbing. And what this does is it gives your dog some freedom. I've got a leash on here as well. It gives your dog some freedom. So this is how you train a recall, so that your dog can sort of explore the area around you, but you also maintain control of the situation. So you can guide the dog back to you. If the dog chases after something, you still have some control. I will probably do more videos with a long line in the future. I think they're great, fantastic tools when you're sort of branching out to the next stage of your obedience training, and you're moving sort of out of your living room and maybe generalizing the behaviors in more public places, and you still want to have some control over your dog, but maybe you're not ready for, say, an e-collar yet. The one thing I will say about long lines is that, say your dog takes off and runs. Dean's moving right now, so this is a good time to point this out. Do not try to just grab the line off the ground. You will miss it. It will slide through your fingers, or you will fall on your face. Don't do that. Use your feet. When you see the line moving, step on it. It will stop the dog. You just stopped. Okay? Now, you may have seen I had Dean set up with a pinch collar and the backup slip lead like I instructed in some of my other videos, and that's a really good training setup as far as the intermediate process goes. If you have moved past a flat collar but you are working your way up to more long distance stuff with an e-collar. Getting into the commands themselves then, I like to use two different recall commands. One for informal stuff, which is what most pet owners will think of when they think of a recall, and two, a formal recall. So the difference between those is, in the informal recall, I just want the dog to stop what it's doing and come back to my general vicinity. That is, the dog might be sniffing or getting into something that I don't really like, or I might see trouble down the sidewalk, or a situation developing where I want the dog to come back to me. So the informal recall just means that stop what you're doing, come back to me. I don't need you to come back to a heel position. I don't need you to come back to a formal, specific sit in front of me. I need you to just stop what you're doing and come back to me, preferably within arm's reach, so that I regain control of the situation and I can regain control of my dog. With the formal recall, it's the opposite of that. This is used in sporting, as well as just for fun, to further develop the obedience of your dog. So what this looks like is the dog must come directly to me, and the dog must sit directly in front of me. So different sports have different measures of how strict they are with this, but the dog must sit directly in front of me with its rear pointed straight back and its nose pointed straight towards me. In other words, the dog is not cocked off to one side or the other. Or, if you like, in some sporting venues, you can recall the dog directly to a heel position. So that's kind of explaining the difference between an informal recall and a formal recall. When I'm training an informal recall, I like to use the dog's name as the command. I like to think of it that way because if I panic and see a situation and I just shout my dog's name, Ding, he knows what to do. He knows that that means come back to me. I don't have to worry about saying or memorizing a different command when the recall is possibly the most important thing for your dog to learn. You need the dog to be able to come back to you when trouble is happening or when you see a situation happening. So for that, I use the dog's name. I feel like that also makes it easier for me to remember and me to chain other commands off of that. So I can use the dog's name to get his attention, but I'm getting his attention because I want you to come back to me. So it's important to note that if you do that, I don't use my dog's name for anything else. I don't use his name to praise him. I don't say his name for other commands. I only use his name as the informal recall command. So what this looks like here is you have your dog with a collar, perhaps a corrective collar, like a pinch collar, and you give the dog some space. Right? So I have to tell him to stay because he'll pretty naturally follow me around. But let's say, oh, right? He's just walking out on his own. I'll apply some pressure. I didn't have to do much there. Apply some pressure, yes, and mark and reward. So, similar to other videos, I can move the dog, seats, okay, oh, seats, good, nope, seats, alright, nope, seats, and I just apply pressure when I want him to come. Again, I'm not even using a command yet. So just applying pressure, the pressure lets off, yes, and I mark and reward the dog. Then I can add the command to it, just like we did with sit and down. Seats, good, right, ah, seats, good, ah. So in this case, I'm going to give my recall command, apply pressure, and as soon as the dog comes towards me, again, not waiting for it to get all the way to me. As soon as he starts to come towards me, I'm going to mark it, get excited. If you need to get your dog more excited to come to you, you can run backwards when that happens. So I give my command, apply pressure, and as soon as the dog comes towards me, I release the pressure, mark, reward, and get excited. Okay? So, come. Yes. Seats. Seats. Live. Ding. Yes. Okay. And then eventually, just like the other commands, sitting down, we fade out the pressure that we're applying in between so that we issue a command, the dog complies or performs the behavior, we mark and reward. So, sits. Good. Ding. Yes. Once you've learned how to train the informal recall, then you're ready to train the formal recall. You need to have done the informal recall first, because what's going to happen is we're going to start to chain behaviors together. This is the same process as moving from a sit or a down to a sit and stay or a down and stay. So when we bridge behaviors together, we're going to start with a command that the dog does not know, followed by a command the dog does know. And just like the other steps I've shown, we're going to fade that command that the dog does know. So what this looks like when we apply it is I give the dog a command it does not know, such as come, which is the command I use for my formal recall. And I follow come with the dog's name, which is a command the dog does know. And so when I say come, the dog learns that means come back to me as well. But then I'm going to add a sit onto that. So I say come, ding. And when it starts to learn that come also means come back to me, I will add the sit to it. So I will say come, and he comes back to me. But then I don't reward. Instead, I ask for a sit. Then I mark and reward. So the dog starts to learn then that when I say his name, it just means come back to me. But when I say come, it means come, no reward yet, sit. Now I got my reward. So again, I will add the command the dog does not know in front of the command that the dog does know, and start to fade that command that the dog knows away. So what that looks like is this. Come. Yes. Okay, that's sort of the end product. And let's see if we can back up some steps here, please. Seats. Good. Come, ding. Sits. Yes. Ding. Yes. Ding. Yes. Ding. Yes. 15. Yes. See? Come. Dean. Sit. Yes. Play. Alright. So, I'll throw in at the end here the place command. So I hope that helps illustrate how to teach your dog to come when called, both in the informal sense of just coming back to you and the formal sense of coming back to a specific position. Until next time, remain diligent.